Started here. All right. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. This is the third of a series of webinars that we've been preparing for you. This is the English version. We will have the Spanish version coming up next week. This is your host, Will Dominguez. It's a pleasure to be in with you, and I want to thank the Latino Chamber, Fabio and Anita, for letting us some space. Fabio should be joining us here shortly. They had some connectivity issues, so he might be a little late here. So today we will be talking about the wealth management for business owners, and we have Pablo Torres Jr. Leading that conversation. He's a financial advisor and proud founder of Torres Wealth Management at Northwestern Mutual. Pablo and his team provide invaluable knowledge, essential tools, and exclusive experiences empowering the community to create wealth through diverse financial literacy channels and contribute to reducing that wealth gap. He firmly believes that discussion around financial literacy should be the source of inspiration and not intimidation. By offering a supported setting, people from all backgrounds feel welcome to convene, share insights, and progress collectively. Last week or last month, we had Dr. Daisy Valentin talk about financial basics to make your business thrive. Those recordings, you can find them in the YouTube channel for the Latino Chamber. She's the president and CEO of the Valentin Consulting LLC. 20 years of experience in accounting profession and 17 years in higher education. Go check out that webinar as well. And today we also have Kevin Beach that helped us out 2 months ago with succession planning for your business. He is from northwest suburbs of Chicago, Illinois, where he grew up until attending St. John University and College of St. Benedict, where he graduated with a BA in political science and a minor in Hispanic studies, a minor that he earned while studying in Quetzaltenango, Guatemala, where he learned Spanish. He then went on to the University of St. Thomas School of Law for his law degree, clerked in the Hennepin County, and litigated insurance fraud. Kevin is a real property, small business, and estate planning attorney. He has used his Spanish background to assist clients with estate planning, probate, and managing small businesses. Recently, he conducted a legal clinic at Los Abogados Cafe in St. Paul, where he discussed the importance of powers of attorney for individuals, business owners, and those in the Spanish-speaking community in general. So today, the main speaker will be Pablo Torres. Again, his topic is wealth management for business owners. So I'll let him take over and take it from here. Thanks, Pablo.
Wilfredo, thank you for the introduction. Thanks for hosting, moderating the conversation. Happy to be here. Kevin, appreciate you also joining us. We learned a ton from your session a couple weeks back. So thanks. It definitely takes a village. That would be my go-to when it comes to doing these workshops. You need a team effort, specifically supporting small business owners and entrepreneurs, wearing so many hats throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the years. So that would be my best advice, is surround yourself with a team of professionals that have your back. So I appreciate the support. Ana Camacho, it looks like at this point you are our attendee, so I'd love to have you if you're okay, feel free to just chime in, turn the camera on, comment. Would love to hear more about you, Ana. If you're at work or busy, feel free to, also write on the chat. But we'd love to learn more about you, your business. And then, is there anything specific for you, Ana, that you would like to learn more about when it comes to wealth management for you and your business? And don't want to put you on the spot, but we are seeing you as a guest, so we'd love to just get your insight. That way we can talk through some of those points throughout the presentation.
She might be having issues unmuting herself or connecting.
No problem. Yeah, so I'll just will go through the presentation material. I know this is recorded and it will be shared to the Latino
Yep.
Chamber of Minnesota, so appreciate them, giving us the space. So I'll share my screen here, Wilfredo,
All
and
right.
we'll jump right in.
Sounds good.
Take a look here.
So let me.
Okay, thank you. Let me just get my screen set up. Okay, I have a couple of screens, so just please let me know if you can see.
Yep.
Perfect. Okay. All right, well, let's start. Again, quick introduction. My name is Pablo Torres, a financial advisor with Northwest Mutual alongside my good friend Wilfredo Dominguez. Our contact info is here listed on the cover page. If anyone that is watching this video or attending today, if you do have additional questions or just want to have a conversation around any of the material that we covered today, we would love to help and support you and your business. So the goal for today is to help business owners have a holistic approach to their financial planning. And funny enough, this is my second workshop for the week. I am locally here in the Chicago area. I partnered up with an organization, a nonprofit organization earlier this week. It's a nonprofit here on the south side of Chicago, and they primarily help startup businesses and they create tools, resources to make sure that their business are off to the right track, but they do an amazing job with making sure that they have structure and a strong foundation so that they can open up their doors, quote unquote, of their business with confidence. And one of the things that to me was a big takeaway from that presentation was how engaged everyone was in that room. So there was about 25 business owners in person. There's gonna be another 20 on Zoom. So it was a hybrid model. And one of the things that I was considering when I was presenting, we're creating this workshop is what can we do as a team to help make sure business owners sleep better at night? We understand the concept of running your business. We understand the importance of making sure that when you do what you have to do to keep your doors open, at the same time, how can we use our expertise as a team to help support business owners so that they can have some of their unanswered questions answered? And here are a few examples that just based on our experience, some of our entrepreneurial clients experience. And these are thoughts, and these are different questions that they have every day. This is just one. Can I retire in 10 years? What does my retirement plan look like? God forbid something happens. What is the plan? If I get hurt or injured, we speak to so many business owners that show up to work because they have to. There's no real plan in place. There's no uh, call it insurance in place to make sure that the business is up and running. So these are just some questions that normally come up, and along the way, as you're running your business, there's just going to be just different problems that we always try to solve. As you continue to grow and progress with your business, how do we make sure that you're scaling the right way? What are some different programs and tools that you can offer to your employees? We all know at this point in time, it is difficult to run a business, small businesses specifically. And that means making sure that you are offering benefits to any of your employees. How do you retain talent? How do you reward, people that have been with you for a long period of time? And so we want to make sure we also are helping business owners understand different ways that you can implement employee benefits or different reward programs and incentives for your employees as they are a part of your overall journey. And so I understand that running a business is a 24/7 job. I personally, and Wilfredo, Kevin, feel free to chime in, but I personally, we are self-employed and we're partners with Northwestern Mutual. So we understand that every single day it's making sure that we're doing our best to run a profitable business. But we also understand that we have blind spots and we don't really recognize what those blind spots are. And so we are going to make sure that we discuss what those potential blind spots are and help you prioritize what should be the focus, what you should implement that you can start with to help resolve some of those blind spots. This is the agenda for today. We won't spend the full hour. We will have an engaging conversation. And I know it's an intimate crowd, and I would love for us to just make sure we understand the importance of today. What are your goals? What are you trying to implement? What are some different asset classes that you have for your business outside of yourself? What are some different ways that we can manage risk? So we'll talk about key areas to protect. And one huge moment in the workshop earlier this week on Monday was the stages of your business. What is the ecosystem of your business? Where are you as far as your growth, your development? How should you continue to grow if that's something that's important? And then what is the role of a team? Yes, we're financial advisors. We have an attorney. We have consultants. We have it. At the end of the day, we feel that the role of business advisors is probably the most important factor of making sure that you continue to grow in your business by having a supportive team, in your circle. Okay, well. I know it's only on here, so I am going to skip through this pretty quick, but this is just a checklist. And this was just like a working page that we had earlier this week where we just paused for a moment and we looked at on a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being least, 10 being very important. If we look at this page here, in sections, which ones for you are the most important? And which ones maybe you can go ahead and get by and go ahead and continue to run your business. So I'll let this page just, we'll let it live here for a couple of seconds just for the people that would be receiving this in their emails. Well, the goal with this page is to really take a step back and zoom out. We're constantly working every single day in our business, but let's get a chance to zoom out and understand what is priority for you. And if we were to move forward, this top right is where we see a lot of worry, a big driver as far as like making sure, there's a plan in place. God forbid something happens. There's also a balance, and this is why it's important to have someone like Dr. Daisy Valentin in your circle or someone that's on the accounting side that can help you make sure that you have a plan in place on the financial side with making sure that you are um, showing the profits, have a scalable business, so having an accounting team. But if we look at the top right, God forbid, what is the plan if something was to happen? Are you looking to potentially sell this business? Are you looking to pass it down to your family, kids, or potentially partner up? Mm, Some of our business owner clients struggle with investing into their personal planning because they're so focused on making sure their business is up and running, it's growing, where they have a tough time investing on the personal side. So that's where we would come in and help look at what's the best approach with investing. How do we make sure we leverage the business that can also be an asset on a personal side that you're creating for your loved ones? There's also lines of credits and different ways that you could help with cash flow. So again, this page was a great page. We spent a good 5, 10 minutes having a conversation around prioritizing from 1 to 10. I will make sure to highlight this throughout the presentation today, but this would be the core conversation that we'll have. So for business owners, as we work with, different types of businesses, whether you're self-employed, small to mid-size, larger corporation size, these are the four asset types that we are recognizing that's important for a business owner. The first one, your physical assets, the commercial space that you own, your machinery, your inventory, your cars, trucks, pretty much anything that has value inside your business. Second, human capital, your employees, your part-time, full-time, your managers, your supervisors, your executive team. They are an important part of your business. The business itself, what is the brand of the business? How is the overall experience that you're providing to your customers? And what's the reputation that you have? And the one that does not get discussed often early enough is the business owner. The business owner is the key person that's driving, but you are also an important asset. Without you, the business does not operate. And so, as we are thinking about growing your wealth, and be more than happy to talk about different ways that we can help be a resource. These are in my opinion, the most important part of creating wealth, and is creating an advisory team. And we know that part of our role as financial advisors is to help accumulate wealth, protect your wealth, some more on the financial planning side. But everyone should be all aligned. Everyone should have a specific role. So for us as financial advisors, we want to make sure that we're looking at the full picture. But at the end of the day, the business owner is the CEO, but we want to make sure that we are being a resource, and we're playing a key role in the leadership team. Financial advisor, accountant, attorney, banker, and the business owner. These are 5 key people. I would also add an insurance agent there to just make sure that you're, limiting your liability and making sure that you have something in place in the event of a lawsuit, or just making sure that you have all of your insurances policies covered. So I would really advise for anyone who's viewing this presentation is to have a quick audit of who your team is. Is your CPA communicating with your attorney? Is your CPA communicating with your financial planner throughout the year? What are some different ways that we can all work together so that at the end of the day, the business owner is benefiting from all of the services that each of these professionals provide? And that's where I would say is my biggest takeaway, working with small business owners throughout my career here, is we have developed a team in place. And so, no pun intended, with us as a team presenting over the last couple of weeks, I think we are understanding the importance of our roles and making sure that business owners are seeing us as an important resource for them. And then now, if we just take a deeper dive into exactly, well, what is it that business planning should be highlighted? And again, this is more on the risk management side. If you have a policy in place to limit your liability, making sure that you have enough coverage in place. A key part of the planning that we see with a lot of our business owner clients, if you have business partners, 1, 2, 3, there's investors. Is there a plan in place if 1 or 2 of the employees, God forbid, something happens to them? So is there legal documentation? Is there a plan in place, financial planning? And so we do see that as a missed opportunity. So anyone that is watching this, if you have a business partner where it could be a family owned and operated, I know I've had some clients that their spouses are business partners or their siblings are business partners, but what do you have in place to make sure, you are not in court with each other's spouses if for whatever reason there's a death in the partnership? And so super important. Would love to make sure that you have some of your estate planning covered, making sure that you have buy-sell agreements. So there's a ton of value there. Mm, This is pretty much just highlights why it's important to make sure that you're looking at the overall risk management. Here are some key questions that would be helpful to ask yourself. Is your liability insurance up to date? When was the last time it was reviewed? When is it renewable? Are we covering everything that needs to be included in your policy? If you were to have an injury or an illness, we have some clients that run their own practice. They're solopreneurs, and if they're unable to work due to a disease, illness, injury, what do they have in place? And so, do you have a disability insurance policy that you can make sure you have so that the bills continue to get paid? One key note, this is where I'll slow down. There is a disability insurance policy that business owners can have to help make sure the business expenses get paid every month. And that's called a disability overhead policy. And so an example, let's just say, Anna, your business is profitable, you're doing really well, and your overhead is $25,000. You're paying your rent, you're paying your payroll, you're replenishing your inventory. If you were the business, if you're the business owner, if you have some type of inability, your physical ability to work, how are those expenses going to get covered? And that's where a disability overhead policy can help. It can generate pretty much the income that the business is making to make sure that the business is still running. So super important, disability overhead expense. There's also individual disability insurance policies. Kevin, did you want to add or comment?
Yeah, there was going to be one minor thing, and this is more so related to Minnesota. There have been a
Okay.
lot of changes to Minnesota law as it relates to employees when it comes to disability, illness, and things like that. So that's another thing that it's kind of outside necessarily the scope of this, but it relates to the conversation. So, for example, there was a statute passed called the Earn Sick and Safe Time, which requires that employees receive a certain amount of hours that they can use towards certain illnesses, taking care of themselves or family members. And additionally, there's Paid Family Sick Act, which goes into place January 1st of 2026. So in that area, if you have a business in Minnesota, should really try to figure that out, either talking to an attorney. There's resources at the Minnesota Secretary of State website, Minnesota Department of Labor. But in that area, there's been a lot of changes that are either in place or coming down the pipeline pretty fast. So make sure we're paying attention to changes in law too, because those come in fast and hard. And saying that you did not know about them is not necessarily an excuse the state would be really accepting of.
Love it. Love it. Kevin, thank you so much for that because yes, to your point, there's always a lot of laws changing throughout and so it's important to stay informed. So yes, absolutely do your due diligence, connect with Kevin. I would really recommend to send him an email and set up a quick consultation to understand how is that going to impact your business. Okay, perfect. Well, if we move forward, it's a great segue because then if you are at the point where now you have 2, 5, 10, 15, 20 employees, I know there's some Illinois law here that you're required to offer some type of retirement plan if you have more than 5 employees. So I'm not sure if that's also the same with Minnesota. And so if it is, then is it? Yeah,
It's just going into place. So it was the Federal Secure Act, which went
correct.
into place in Illinois, was one of the early adopters of the Federal Secure Act, but that's also going to place in Minnesota, where you're going to have to offer that to employees. Trying to recall, I believe it's 5 or more
Bimonthly.
employees is when that's the
Yeah.
case, but don't quote me on that because that's just from my recollection. So
Yeah.
talking with the financial planner about trying to get those set up. Otherwise, there are also options through the state, but
Correct.
it may behoove people, even if you weren't planning on setting something up, to talk to financial planners about getting these set up because it'll be required in the not too distant future.
Correct. Yeah, so here in Illinois, so I'm based out of Chicago. There that law has been for the last 2 years, I believe. And so we're encouraging, there are state-sponsored investment accounts like a Roth IRA that your employees can sign up for. It's really at no cost to the business. We just got to make sure that you're compliant with making sure you're offering that to your employees. So, but if you are at that point in your business cycle, and if you would like to offer your employees health insurance, disability insurance, life insurance, a 401k, some type of retirement solution, we would be more than happy to have that conversation. But it's really important because now it's an employee retention tool that you have to your advantage, by offering this to any of your employees. That would mean your best employees they stay with you and they continue to help you grow your business. Or if you're looking to hire someone that, would benefit you on the marketing side, as we all know, the internet, social media, marketing, you definitely need to have something in place so that someone can help run the marketing side and control and grow your presence online.
And one other thing to add to that, as far as Minnesota is concerned, the implementation of the Secure Act is required as far as January 1st of this upcoming year, but there's a lot of things to set up. Additionally, there are a decent number of incentives out there so that you can apply for if you are setting up retirement accounts for your employees that would allow, hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars in benefits that you'd be able to give directly to employees that you just apply for, and then it goes directly into their accounts, or it helps assist with the costs associated with setting up those accounts. So it would be a great idea to talk with somebody like Wilfredo or Pablo regarding setting up some of those accounts, because there's some great benefits and free money on the table if it's applied for in a timely fashion.
Kevin, perfect. Thank you for sharing. There are some examples also if you have a key employee. Let's just say there's an employee that has been with you from the beginning and you just see them long term and you want to just provide an executive benefit for that individual. We can have a conversation there where you may feel it's not suitable for the rest of your employees, but you only want to have one or two of your employees. We call that key employees. We can definitely customize what those solutions are. And then retirement. Retirement is the biggest miss that we see working with business owners. And we all know business owners will put all of their chips in to make sure that their business is successful. And one of the things that we notice is they may not be investing into their futures, hoping that their business will be able to provide that for them. Obviously, there's no guarantees in running a business, but we just want to make sure that they are also taking advantage of, number one, saving for their retirement, for their nest egg, but then two, there's some tax advantages to that. There are some tax benefits by implementing some retirement solutions and employee benefits. So be happy to discuss what that would look like. And, if we're also just being human beings and we are being nice to our employees, it's just the right thing to do. Let's also reward your employees for all of the hard work that they do. And there are some examples of some questions. Not only are we providing some of those solutions, but what are some of the questions that you should be asking? A question would be helpful to ask your team. Do you appreciate having benefits? I would imagine employees that have spouses, they have a partner, they have a family. I would imagine that yes, it would be important for them to have benefits for their loved ones. Okay, and exit planning, this is part of the life cycle of a business. We'll jump into here in a moment, but a lot of business owners don't really have the exit plan in mind. They want to make sure that their business continues to run and it operates in a profitable manner. There's also different strategies that we can implement to make sure that there is an exit plan. And so there's buy sell strategies. What's the business succession? Is this going to be inherited, by a family member, son, daughter to continue to run the business? I work with a lot of family owned businesses here in the Chicago area where parents were the founders, started 40, 50 years ago. Now that, there's children, there's grandchildren, and some of them can be a bit messy. And doors unfortunately will close down or they'll go to court. And so we just want to make sure everything gets covered, and not necessarily that happens often, but it does. It does. And so, I had some success stories where they've worked with a estate planning attorney to make sure everything gets, correctly submitted in their trusts, and God forbid something happens, they're avoiding probate and they have everything in place to make sure that part of their overall estate they're not getting taxed on either. So there's different ways that you can, have the exit plan. But my biggest advice, working with business owners, they know their numbers, meaning they know how much they make per year. They absolutely know. If someone says, I do not know, I don't know if they're necessarily telling the truth. And I say that because a lot of our business owners are looking at profit margins, looking at sales, looking at overall revenue. They're looking at different ways that they can leverage the tax code to save on taxes. My biggest advice is, well, what is your business worth? And that would be a healthy conversation to have. Knowing your numbers. Okay, how do we evaluate your business? What do we look for? Is it 2 or 3 times profit? Is it 2 or 3 times overall revenue? What are your assets? Do you have accounts receivables? So we want to look at the holistic approach, and having an attorney also get involved there to look at your overall valuation for your business. Hopefully these are some new things that you can consider if you're watching this presentation that can help you just zoom out and now put things in perspective to be a better business owner. All right. Exit planning, we just touched on it here. There might be just some conflicts, so let's just make sure we have a plan in place and plan for the unexpected. When do you want to leave? Who's going to be your successor? What's the value of the business? We touched on that. I'll let this stay on here for a couple more seconds so that people viewing capture these questions. And do not forget about your personal financial planning, my fellow business owners. This is where Wilfredo and myself, we come together as a team. We look at the overall picture, but we want to make sure that as you're building wealth for your business, you're also have a healthy balance of building and creating wealth for your personal plan, for your loved ones. If you'd like to invest into your children's future, if you would like to invest into the stock market, if you want to save for retirement, how do we make sure that we're helping you grow your wealth? And God forbid something happens, how do we make sure we have the next generation or your loved ones inherit that money in the most, wealth preserving way, most tax efficient way? And so financial planning, so important, to be a part of your overall business plan. There was a question that came up on Monday, and thankfully we had a CPA in the room. And the question was, well, if I am not on payroll, how does that impact my personal finances? Because any withdraws is an owner's draw, which would be considered income. And so that was there's no real easier answer to that. And so it just really depends on your business. And so the CPA had recommended to make sure that you're sitting down with a CPA and seeing what is the appropriate amount that you should be paying yourself if you decide to go on payroll. And then a rule of thumb, what's the rule of thumb that you then is the right time to go on payroll as soon as you start profiting consistently for a couple of years? And so say that to say that you should not forget about the personal financials, and it's always going to be a healthy balance, but they are interconnected. So we want to make sure we are looking at both. There are some other questions that would be helpful that you may or may not know that is important to ask yourself as the business owner. If you become sick or disabled, what happens to your business? We talked about that. What's the role what role does the business play in your retirement planning? We discussed that high level. Okay. We'll let that breathe there. And so if we take a step back and we discuss the importance of building wealth, we haven't touched on any specific portfolios. We haven't discussed any IRA or retirement options. We haven't talked about different ways that you can protect your wealth. Really, what we're doing is helping you just have a holistic approach with your business. And that is, in my opinion, the best way to build wealth for your business and for your family. And I love this page because it shows, number one, who should be in your advisory team. You are the CEO, you're running the business, but also reviewing how each of these different members of your team are helping you look at different parts of your plan. So to summarize this page, on the top left, you're going to have someone that's your insurance, looking at your insurance plan. The bottom left, having an attorney in place to help you make sure that you have legal documentation set up for, that's going to be a part of the state law. The top right, having a top right, actually right and the top bottom is having a financial planner, really reviewing, your plan in place. Okay. All right. And so I am going to review what the life cycle of a business is. And so the group that I spoke to was more on the stage 1 and stage 2. And so stage 1, startup, you have a profitable business, you're generating cash flow, things are going well, you're excited. Now you go from maybe working out of your home to a commercial space, to purchasing your own space, looking into different ways to continue to scale. Stage 2, we're in growth mode. You have employees, and now there's profit, healthy profit now that you are able to leverage, with your executive team, and then maturity and transfer. And so this is where it's important to have an estate planning attorney, making sure that you're looking at different ways to save on taxes with your overall estate, and then making sure that the next generation, or if you decide to sell the business, is be a part of your stage 4. So these are the 4 different life cycles of running your business. Stage number 1, great page. Now we get into the specifics of what you should focus on. Looking at your overall risk management, your employee benefits, business succession, and personal planning. And so we talked about that in a couple of slides prior, but this is an important part of, as you're starting to produce revenue in your business, as you're in growth mode, would definitely recommend to look at these different ways of planning. growth phase. Again, still want to protect risk. What are your potential blind spots? Employee benefits. Now we start looking at different tools and resources. I would like to, at this point, make sure how business owners can benefit from the tax code when it comes to retirement plans. So I'll slow down here. Fellow, feel free to chime in. So there are about I would say three mainly retirement plans that business owners can take advantage of, not only for saving for their retirement, but then leveraging the tax code of those retirement plans. There's one, if you do not have any employees, you're self-employed, it's a solo 401k. A solo 401k allows you to save up to $70,000 per year into a retirement plan. So if you are at the point where you didn't get a chance to save for your retirement for a long period of time because you were just 100% invested into your business, but now you're providing some profits. Now there's some healthy revenue that's coming from your business. That's an amazing way to play catch up with your retirement. You can sock away $70,000, which is a lot of money in 1 year. Compared to a traditional 401k, if your spouse or someone works in a W-2 that offers a 401k, you can only max out at 23,500. So the tax code for a business owner is a lot more significant compared to an employee. A SEP IRA, SEP IRA, they both work the same. The tax code is also 70,000. It just becomes a little bit gray when it comes to payroll and you can only put 25% of your pay into a SEP IRA. So that could be a little tricky. So just make sure you include your accountant in that conversation. And implementing a 401k or simple IRA for you and your staff. A simple IRA allows you to automatically connect your payroll to your retirement plan, where every check, there's a certain percentage that's going into your simple IRA, which is your retirement. And as the employer, if you would like to offer a match, you can provide that match to your employees. So, an example could be if your employee is contributing 4% into their simple IRA or 401k, the company can provide a 4% match. That keeps them happy. That's also a deduction that the business takes. Everyone wins at that point. So solo 401k for someone that would like to play catch up, is on salary, works for themselves. SEP IRA, business is doing really well. Now they're profiting. You can contribute to 25% of your income or profit into a SEP IRA. Third, a simple IRA where now you want to offer a retirement solution for your employees. You want to provide a match. And a solo 401k. So some questions normally come up. When should I offer a simple? When should I offer 401k? A simple IRA would be good to offer when you have 2 to about 10 employees. 2 to 10, maybe 2 to 15, but I would sit on more of the 2 to 10 space. Anything after 10 employees, a 401k is a great solution. 401k, there's a lot of benefits there. So I would say that would be the life cycle of what your retirement plan should look like. Okay. Let's get
Yep,
these next couple
that's
pages.
great.
Fredo, yeah.
Just to add, yeah, there's pros and cons for everything, right? So consider where you are in your business. If you want to offer the plan to your employees, or if you're thinking that you will be hiring employees in the future, then that will decide that will walk you through the decision tree on which one makes the most sense for your business.
Yeah, yeah. And Fredo, we talk about creating financial security for our clients, and a lot of our business owner clients, Fredo, they always want to make sure that their business is a priority and it's healthy. And I like to give cheesy, boring advice at times, and it's not the most exciting where I'm just going to wave a magic wand. But one of the things that I like to share with business owners and a lot of our parent clients too is just imagine you hopping on the plane and you're about to go spend a week in Cancun. And the flight attendant is giving you your directions, your instructions around, hey, make sure that you put the oxygen mask on yourself first before you put it on your children. And I love that analogy with financial planning, specifically with
Mhm.
business owners. You want to make sure that the business owner, you are in a good place. You put the oxygen mask on, make sure that you're investing into yourselves, your families, and your business comes after. It also, the business should be a part of that too, but the business owner should be prioritized. And so make sure business owner, mask first, then the business. I digress, but I just want to make sure that business owners put themselves first because we tend to put ourselves last or at the very end. Okay?
Yeah, yeah. And at the end, it's putting your family first too, right? Because
Absolutely.
if you don't take care of yourself, your family will have to step in and potentially drain their resources to help you out of those moments, right? So if you plan correctly for your retirement and your later years, your family don't have to step in for that.
Right, right. Well, this is just an overview of the role of your team. The team should help you ask deeper questions, some red flags, or maybe just something to be just conscious of if you're working with an accountant or if you're working with a financial planner and they're not really asking, uh, just if they're not being intentional about asking certain questions with like who's your CPA, what's the relationship like, how are they helping, how are they making sure that you have a peace of mind, and so there should be a healthy dialogue between your team of advisors. And the attorney should be communicating with the CPA, the attorney should be communicating with a financial planner, vice versa. I think everyone just needs to be on the same page. And so we're looking at making sure we're just looking at the holistic view of running your business. So that's really our goal for today. We'll do a quick review of what we discussed. We didn't jump into the S&P 500. We didn't look at different insurance policies. We didn't look at, specific college savings accounts. We really just wanted to make sure that our business owner clients look at their personal and business planning holistically. So number one, reassess your goals. What are the different assets that you have that are a part of your business? Key areas that should be reviewed, and then just the different business cycles of your business and having trusted advisors. Okay. Well, my goal with this presentation is hopefully for anyone that's watching this is for you to sleep better at night. And if this created new problems, I mean, that's the mindset of a business owner. We always try to solve new problems, but our goal is to help you sleep better at night, and we can help you solve some of those problems or potential blind spots. And so that's pretty much it, Wilfredo. If anyone has any questions, we be more than happy to set up a one-on-one conversation, or where they can follow up with us.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Pablo, Kevin, for joining us today. And I don't know if there's any questions there. You can type them in or unmute yourself. We'll give it a quick second here. If not, well, we just like to thank the Latino Chamber of Commerce for the opportunity to reach you guys today, and hopefully for a while we are recorded in the YouTube channel for the chamber. So thanks again, Pablo, Kevin, and Victoria Daisy as well. She was not able to join us today, but she has been with us as well as part of the holistic team that we were talking about today. Next week we'll have the Spanish version of these, and that will be the end of the series.
One brief question, and maybe it's for both, you, Pablo, Will. So if I'm the small business owner and I trying to figure out my finances and I show up at your office saying, hey, I have a restaurant, single member LLC, something like that. What is that initial conversation look like? And I walk in the door knowing nothing other than I want to get these finances stuff figured out.
Yeah. Yeah, great question, Kevin. So there's a couple of meetings that we'll have throughout. And in the first conversation, consultation, Kevin, it's really just helping us understand, who you are, what you're trying to accomplish with your business. Really just we're there to be sponges where we want to soak up everything that we want to know about you and the business, Kevin. And so if someone is interested in learning of how we help business owners, the first meeting is really understanding how the business is ran, really understanding the goal of the business, and vice versa. So we're learning about each other. They also learn about the work that we do. So the very first meeting, it's just like a casual introduction to each other. And from there, we can give our feedback, but we would love to set up a separate meeting where that meeting is going to be now a lot more around giving feedback and recommendations based on what we see. Okay. And so I would imagine it's very similar with you, where it's an introduction. We understand, what the story is, what's the why behind the why. But then in that second meeting, Kevin, then we can provide some additional guidance, whether it's, okay, you're a single LLC, you're not on payroll yet, but how do we make sure we look at your bookkeeping? What's your cash flow month in, month out? Do you have any personal debt? Do you have any business debt? How do we make sure that we leverage any cash flow to help invest that for your family? And so that's some examples there, Kevin. But it's a great question because, to your point, not a lot of people know what to expect early on, and so it's really just uncovering a lot of the stages of the business.
Yeah. So a lot of the questions that were in the presentation, right? Some slides that specifically had questions. What's keeping you up at night, right? What is important for you? At the end of the day, there's no one size fit all, right? Every plan will be customized for the individual and for the business. So bring in what's keeping you up at night. Out of the things that we talked about today, what are those critical things that you have not addressed yet and we need to talk about, and what things have you addressed already? What things are clear? What things need to be worked out a little bit?
Right. That's right. Well, super happy that we were part of the series. So thanks again to the Latino Chamber of Commerce, Wilfredo, Kevin. Thanks for being a part of the team. I'd be more than happy to be a resource if anyone has any questions.
Awesome. Thanks everybody. Thanks Kevin again. Thanks Paulo again, and the audience as well.
Okay.
Thanks guys. I'll see
Awesome.
you at the next meeting, which will be all in Spanish. It does seem that there's usually a lot more attendance at the Spanish ones and a lot of questions in those. So just as a kind of qualifier there, Pablo.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll make sure that we engage with you as well, because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of legal related questions there too. All right. Thanks everybody. Have a good one.